If you can hear me, you are inside the circle with me, and that means we are still here. This is Elliot Kane, speaking from a room under the old brick station on Broad Street, Columbus, Ohio. The clock on the wall says Monday, November 3rd, 7:13 a.m., but the wall clocks lie when the power stutters, so take this as close enough. Outside, the sky looks white and thin. It is about 41 degrees if my hand over the pipe is any guide. The air is dry. The wind is light, which means the dust hangs low over the lot, and if you crack a door, it slides in and settles over the floor like a film. I am running on a diesel Jenny that drinks 2 gallons an hour when I keep the transmitter at half power. I am pushing 500 watts, AM 540 kilohertz, and the signal should get across Franklin County if the antenna stays up. I also throw a carrier on 7.110 megahertz in the evenings, sideband voice, for anyone with a ham rig and a car battery. If the sound fades or breaks, that is the grid biting the line, or my alternator belt slipping. I will keep talking until the fuel drum runs clear, or my voice does. You want the truth, not comfort. The truth is that the first signs were small enough to ignore. 2 weeks back, a string of missed updates from the weather birds and a joint NOTAM that said, National Airspace Unusual. The maps we use here to show pressure lines froze at 0400 and stayed fixed like a bad photograph. I remember the first real hit. Just before dawn, the phone bank at the desk blinked dead, one light after another, and the emergency alert unit wrote gibberish on its screen, as if a cat had walked across the keys. The power dipped, came back, dipped again. After that, the city felt like someone held it underwater. Engines were loud in the distance. People were up too early. The air carried a hard smell like a hot transformer, even though it was cool. Then came the flash reports, first from people with antennas on their roofs, then from the drivers who still had CB. They said Chicago had a light on the horizon at the wrong time of day. They said Cleveland's radio glassed out, one station after another, as if hands turned every knob to 0 at once. That was day 1 in our count. We are at day 14 now, and if you ask me what matters most, it is not the maps or the names of the cities. What matters is who still answers when you call their name across a room. I heard the first military voice at noon on day 1, plain and flat, on a guard channel we never used at this station. A man with a steady tone said to clear the bands and keep them clear. He did not shout. He did not explain. He read a string of grid points and repeated them. Someone else cut in and read a different string. Then both vanished behind a hum. Later that day, the EAS box spat out a burst from a federal line. It did not carry any voice or instruction, just a header and a tail, like someone pushed the wrong button or did not have a script. We kept the burner on the coffee maker and let the little red bulb make us feel like we had a plan. By sundown on day 2, the power grid was limping. Street lights in Old Town blinked in groups. Some homes had heat. Most did not. The water taps groaned and spat air. We learned to fill what we could while the towers still had pressure. My neighbor 2 doors down turned his truck sideways to block the alley and chalked "no gas" on his hood so no one would cut his line to siphon. Out by the river, a group dragged pallets into a ring and burned them, then walked the edges like guards. They were not guards. They were just tired and not ready to be alone at home. Let me say what I know, what I am told, and what I guess, and keep the edges between them clean. What I know. There were strikes on day 1 and day 2. The glow on the far skyline that people saw and called sunrise at midnight was not sunrise. What I am told, some were high, some were low. Some burst in the upper air and washed the horizon. Some slammed into ground and left a ring where the map had a name. What I guess. There were fewer shots than the old movies said there would be, but everyone was aimed. The power died not just from the blow, but from the switchmen who could not be reached after the lines cooked. The pipes that feed the plant stopped when the little computers on the valves went dumb. The old breaker panels with handles held the charge longer, but only as long as a hand could stand there to hold a wrench and watch the needle. I keep a little book of the first calls we got because it matters to mark what comes in order. Day 1, 8:26 a.m. A man from Marion said, "I think I see a second sun north by east." Day 1, 9:05 a.m. A woman on a roof in Newark said, "All my stations are static except you and a preacher on 810. Day 1, 10:12 a.m. A nurse from Grove City said, "We are taking people with burns not from fire but from light." Day 2, 3:40 p.m. A ham operator out of Fort Wayne said, "You are on the edge of our skip. Do not stop if you can help it." Many voices are gone. Day 3, just after dawn. A freight conductor on a handheld said, "We are parked outside a dark yard. No signal. No orders. We are 2 miles long and stuck." These are not dramatic lines from a film. These are tired voices trying to turn what they see into words that someone else can use. I am going to open the call line in a minute. Before I do, let me put down what the insiders say so you can weigh it against what you see. An engineer I trust, who used to work at a substation near Chillicothe, said the first shock knocked long-haul lines offline when protection relays saw spikes that looked like short circuits. The relays did their job and opened up. Good relays save gear, but they also split the grid into islands. Once you have islands, they start to wobble, and if there is no steady hand on the big machines, the islands dim and die. A friend who wore a uniform until last year told me the word is decapitation. He said the idea is to take out command and force the rest to spend their time guessing. He said our side had plans for that too. He did not say them with pride. He said them like a man who knows an old recipe by heart and wishes he did not. A professor down at the university found me with a hand radio on day 5 and said the upper atmosphere bursts make a wide wave that eats small chips and scares big machines. He said some of our cars would still start if they were old and dumb and had no computers. He told me to tell people to keep one car under metal if they could, like the old trick with the metal trash can and the radio. I told him I would say it. So I am saying it now. To anyone who still holds a town office or a badge, I have sent the same message each morning. If there is a curfew, speak it. If there is a safe route, draw it. If there is a danger, name it. People will forgive harsh rules if the rules are clear and human. People will not forgive silence. If you cannot say what is going on, say where you will be and at what hour, and keep that hour. A voice on time is a kind of food. All right, I am opening the line. If you call, give your name and your city first, then what you need to say. Keep it short. Do not argue with each other. If I cut you, it is only because the fuel dial is slow and I'm trying to catch as many as I can. Maria, Westerville. You are up. Elliot, we heard a low roll at about 6 a.m., like thunder but flat. The sky was clear. Our taps coughed brown for a minute and then ran clear. The school on Maxtown opened its doors yesterday. They had soup. People lined the hall and slept on mats. We were told to boil water, even if it looks clean. My brother works nights at a warehouse. He says they are guarding the dock with pickup trucks, and the trucks are empty. No riots where we are. A man came to the cul-de-sac and said there's a camp under the freeway where they share blankets. I don't know if that's safe to say out loud. That's all. Thank you, Maria. The low roll you heard could be a plant dumping steam or a transformer letting off. The boil order is good. If you can get water to a full boil for 1 minute and let it cool covered, do that. If you have a little bleach and your water is clear, you can use 2 drops per liter, 8 drops per gallon. Stir, wait half an hour, then sniff it. It should smell faintly of bleach. If it smells strong, let it air. If it smells like nothing, you may need another drop. Do not mix bleach with anything except water. Reggie, Toledo. Go ahead. I'm on the roof of a 3-story walk-up. We can see the lake. There's a brown streak on the horizon like a bruise. Radios here are thin. We get you, and a weak church station. There's a group in our building who says the government told the truth and we need to wait. Another group says we need to walk out while it's still warm. A kid with a drone found a line of cars stopped on I-75, all empty like a picture. Question: do we go, or do we dig in? Reggie, I cannot tell you what to do with your feet. I can tell you what happens when people move without a plan. They run until they are tired. Then they sleep where everyone else is sleeping, which makes a target. If you stay, stay because you have water, heat, and a way to keep watch. If you go, go because you know where you will end up by nightfall and who will take you in. The brown line could be smoke carried by the lake wind. If you have old N95 masks, keep them. If you do not, fold a clean cloth and wet it lightly, but know that cloth does not stop fine dust. It only reminds you not to touch your face. Leah, Dayton, you are live. Church bell tower on 5th. We hung a sheet with a cross and a time written on it. Noon, every day, hot water and check-in. The first day no one came. Yesterday 50 people came. We wrote names and who was missing. We mark anyone in need of medicine with a small dot so shoppers know to look for them. Our radio says right pad is active at night. We heard rotors. We saw 2 planes that did not have lights. They moved slow and low. We keep thinking we'll hear our mayor. We don't. Do we keep the sheet up? Keep the sheet up. You are making a clock for people who lost the clock. If the base is active, it may be moving supplies or people who need special care. The planes without lights are doing what you do when you still have work to do after dark. Write your noon times big and make sure the water is safe. If you have salt, small packets of salt and sugar mixed in clean water help with dehydration. A pinch of salt, a spoon of sugar in a liter. It is not perfect, but it can keep someone from falling. I can feel the dial on the fuel drum easing lower while I talk, which is a good way to stay honest with my words. Let me give you what I have heard from those who claim they know why no one in a suit is standing at a podium. A man who used to sit in a federal office emailed me once before the link went dead. He said the plan for something like this used to be that messages would flow from safe rooms under the centers in DC and Virginia. The people who carry the binders for a living would go below ground, check a list, and keep the country fed with words and orders until the lines came back. The problem, he said, was that every plan assumed the first hit would be a storm you could see on radar. It did not plan for slices, for the kind of cuts that remove the voice, but leave the hands. He wrote, "They can still do things, but they cannot agree on what to say while they do them." He wrote, "Tell people to look for action, not speeches." That is one theory. Another was a shorter text from a medic at a base in Indiana who said simply, "We were told to fix what is in front of us." That is what we should do too. If you are near Columbus and you can help, I need diesel, printer paper, and a good alternator belt. I have enough fuel for today and tonight if I throttle what we push, and maybe tomorrow morning if I run dark for a few hours. I can trade cans of soup and a box of old batteries. If you bring me the belt, I'll put your name on the board by the door, and you can talk on this mic for 5 minutes to say what needs to be said to your block. If no one brings a belt, I will pull the belt from the air handler, and it will be cold in here, but the voice will keep. I keep notes on the science because I need something that isn't rumor to hold in my hand. People want to know where it is safe. The answer is not one line on a map. It is about distance and wind and time. If you had a big flash near your city, the first minutes mattered most for those out in the open. If you are alive now and inside, your job is to keep particles out of your lungs and to keep your water clean. If you see warnings about fallout, understand that the big danger is from dust that carries tiny hot bits. It rides the wind, and it rides on you when you walk through it, and then touch your mouth or food. If you have a basement, the dirt and the walls help. If you do not have a basement, put as many walls and as much mass between you and the outside as you can. Books, water jugs, bags of soil, furniture, anything heavy and clean. Stay put for the first 2 days after a known strike, then watch the sky and your neighbors. Ask yourself simple questions. Can I breathe without coughing? Do the birds come back to the wire in the morning? Do my hands itch after I go outside? Most of us do not have Geiger counters. We watch the world and we mark what changes. There is noise inside every rumor. Here are some I hear over and over. 1. The coasts are gone. Not true. Parts are hit. Parts are dark. Parts are stubborn and alive. 2. The crops are ruined. Not true yet. There will be loss. Farmers will still plant if the fuel and seed reach them. Some fields are fallow now because there is no one to drive the machines. 3. There is no government left. Not true. I have heard state police voices at night. I have heard a county judge tell a man to put down a gun and go home. I have heard a crew chief ask for permission to cross a bridge and receive it. 4. Help is coming tomorrow. It might not. If it does, it will be smaller than you want but bigger than nothing. Plan your life for what you can do today with what you have. I am told people want names because names take this from the level of maps down to the level of steps. So here are names. I spoke with Ron, who runs a garage in Whitehall. He set up a trade board on his shutter. People write what they have and what they need. He takes half a can of fuel to keep the board safe. That is a good tax. I spoke with Aisha from Linden. She took over a barbershop with 4 chairs, and now it is a clinic for changing dressings, with clean blades boiled in a pot and a bucket line to the back for water. I spoke with Mr. and Mrs. Chen on Parsons Avenue, who kept their restaurant's pilot light on and cook 1 big pot of rice at noon and 1 big pot of soup at sunset and sell it by the ladle with a slice of bread. They charge what people can pay. If you cannot pay, you wash, you sweep, you stand at the door and let 3 in and 1 out, and you earn your bowl. These are small governments. This is not a speech. It is action. I need to say this without dressing it up. There will be people who take. When food is short and fear is high, some take. Do not be naive. Do not be cruel. For the first kind, you need pairs on watch and whistles, and a rule that night is for sleep, and the morning is for asking what went wrong. For the second kind, those who break because they cannot carry 1 more hour, there is a stool by my door and a heater when I have fuel. If you have nothing else to give a chair and a cup of something hot, and 5 minutes where no one asks a question. 5 minutes of peace can add a good hour to the day for someone. Here's a note on the lines. If you have shortwave, try 5.000 megahertz at the top of the hour and half hour for time and weak world voices. Try 7.110 megahertz for a net we are starting in the evenings, and try 14.300 megahertz during daylight for a maritime net that sometimes carries inland when the bounce is right. If you are on CB, Channel 9 is still for help, but Channel 19 has the chatter. Set a schedule with your neighbors, 10 minutes after the hour on your chosen channel, and stick to it. A schedule builds a bridge when the bridge is foggy. I have been honest about my own line breaking. I sleep in the studio now on a camp mat because the studio has a thick door and a small window, and I can wake when the generator jumps. My wife is in a school gym on the east side where there is a nurse and a man who can fix boot soles. We meet at noon under the east steps of the courthouse, and we chew dried fruit and count the small things we have saved that day, like a box of screws or a jar of nails, and then we go back to our posts. We are not brave. We are busy. Back to calls. Tom, Zanesville. Roadside near a way station. We saw a convoy last night, no lights, moving at a crawl. Looked like maybe 6 semi-trailers behind 2 armored trucks. It turned off before the river. People here think it's food or medicine. Others say it's something worse. My daughter says it looked like Christmas without the lights, just dark shapes that felt like they mattered. No question, just saying we saw it. Thank you, Tom. If you see a convoy, give it space. Do not stand on the road to ask for help. Stand off with a sign if you must, but know that guards are tired and jumpy and trained to keep their wheels moving. If you are healthy and can walk, go to the edge of your town where help is likely to stop on purpose. Schools, fire stations, big churches, places with wide lots. If I hear of planned drops or clinics, I will say the intersections out loud. Ben, Newark. I run a little print shop. Our toner worked until yesterday. I've got 2 signs people can copy by hand. One says, boil water before use with simple steps. The other says, quiet hours 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. We hung them at the corners and the fights dropped. People respect a rule if it looks like a rule. It helps to write it in black on a white door. We are down to hand stamps now. If anyone needs the words, I'll read them. That's all. Ben, I like your style. A sign is a voice that does not get tired. If you want to copy his words, write boil water before use. Bring water to a rolling boil for 1 minute. Let cool covered. Store in clean covered container. If using bleach, clear water, 8 drops per gallon. Cloudy water, 16 drops per gallon. Stir. Wait 30 minutes. And for quiet hours, write quiet hours 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. No loud work, no music, no shouting. Lights low. Watch rotates. Then draw a little clock. People respect clocks even now. A few words on health because I keep hearing the same worries. If you have a cut, clean it with clean water and soap. If you have no soap, clean water alone is still good. Do not seal a dirty cut. Let it weep, and then dress it. Honey helps if you have it. It keeps out some bugs. If you have a fever and chills and no other symptoms, and you were outside in dust, you may have breathed something that made your lungs angry. Rest. Sip. Keep warm. If you cough and bring up blood, seek someone with a mask and a room. If you have meds and can spare a few, keep them in a dry jar with a label and give them to someone who can track who took what. Do not play doctor with antibiotics if you can help it. Save them for the cuts that look angry and the fevers that will not break. I hear myself talking like this is normal. It is not. But a voice that pretends this is normal is easier to carry in your pocket. I will not lie to you. There are days I walk up the steps and stand in the lot and look at the empty street, and I think, I would like to go back inside and pull the door closed and sit with my back to it and count to 100. Then I pick a small job, clean a filter, wrap a cable, label a drawer. The small job feeds the next small job. By the end of the day, I have a handful of small jobs, and that adds up to a day I can live with. If you are spinning, pick one small job and do it, then pick the next. Another caller. Janet, Mount Vernon. Our town square has a table with a little red flag on it. Red flag means the clinic is open. Green flag means the food share is on. Blue flag means the water truck is here. We made piles of stones at the edges of the road to slow cars. People say it feels like a trap. It's not. It keeps kids alive. We're missing the radio from the volunteer firehouse. If anyone has seen it. If anyone in Mount Vernon knows where that radio went, bring it back or leave it by the table with the flag. Radios are worth more than most things right now. A radio moves help to where it is needed. If you took it, you can undo that and no one has to know it was you. A word on politics, because people ask me like I have a line to truth. The people who guided the country where you could see them may be underground or on the move or stuck in place because there is no line to call out on. The people who guided the country where you could not see them are in the same boat. They cannot make the lines move faster than we can. There is no party that can make a dead relay jump. There is no vote that can turn on a plant that blew its turbine. What we have is neighbors and small crews and the hum of an old generator in a cold room. When you meet someone who speaks in big terms, nation, future, salvation, ask them which street they will clear, which pipe they will fix, which hour they will watch. If they cannot answer with a street name and a time, let the wind carry their words away. I will run for 30 more minutes before I cut for fuel and fix the belt. If the station goes silent without me saying I am cutting, it means I misjudged the drum or a fuse blew. Give me half an hour and try again. If after an hour you hear nothing, go to 7.110 megahertz after sunset and listen there. If you hear nothing there, write your name and your block on a sheet and tack it to the place where people go at noon in your town. Keep your own list and your own time. Do not wait for a voice on a wire to bless your day. I am going to finish this first stretch with the first story that told me something was wrong. The one that keeps replaying when I lie on the mat at night. At 5:40 a.m. on day 1, I was out by the back step with a mug in my hand because the coffee machine had finally finished its slow cough, and the air outside was cold enough to wake me. The traffic light on the corner clicked through red, yellow, green, red, yellow, green, and then stopped on red and stayed there. A bus came up High Street and paused under the red and sat. There was no cross traffic. No one was at the corner. The bus could have coasted through. The driver raised his hands, palms open, and held them on the wheel like he was in front of a class. He kept his hands there for the length of a long breath. Then he nodded at no one and eased through the red. He drove slow and careful, like he was pushing a baby carriage. The light stayed red for 10 more minutes. I watched it, and I thought, if a bus driver has to make a choice between a rule and what he knows in his body, he will choose what he knows in his body and live with it. That is where we are now. The lights are stuck. We are the ones who nod and go anyway, slow, careful, with both hands on the wheel. This is Elliot Kane, AM 540 for Columbus, and anyone who can hear me across the flat land between here and wherever you are. Time is now 7:52 a.m. I will take 3 more calls and then cut the line for maintenance and fuel, And if the diesel and the belt agree, I will be back at 10 a.m. with more names, more places, and any word I can pull out of the wires. If you have a pencil, write this down. Boil water, pair up for watches, set quiet hours, share lists of the missing, and pick one small job before noon. If you can spare a prayer, spend it on the ones out on the road who do not yet know where they will sleep. This is Elliot Kane, AM 540 for Columbus and the flat miles beyond. Time reads 10:01 a.m. on the wall clock, and the generator settled after I tightened the new belt that a man named Dorsey dropped at the back step with a note that said, "Pay me with words that keep my kids steady." Dorsey, you're on the board by the door. I swapped the fuel drum, bled the line, and the needle says a touch over half. If the tone of my voice feels slow, it's because I used my hands more than my mouth for the last hour, and I'm counting what I've got before saying what I don't. The air out back is still, a kind of held breath over Broad Street. The sky is the wrong color for November, a chalky white that makes the brick look tired. We are live on AM 540, and I'm throwing a carrier to 7.110 megahertz for the shortwave sets. If the signal rides up and down on you, that's the midday skip. I'll keep the words heavy so they fall. Between the sign-off and now, I heard one federal voice on a narrow band that sounded like it came from an old bunker phone patched into a radio. The man read the words, "temporary restrictions," and movement limit from dusk to dawn, and enforce through local units. He did not say where. He did not say which units. He did not say how a town with 5 working squad cars and no fuel drum enforces anything. What I know is this. Muscle beats hope when the sun goes down. If your block agrees on quiet hours, you have a better night than if you wait for a badge. Keep the whistles. Keep the pairs. Keep a note on a door that says where help sits at noon. I've got a short list of fresh notes. A teacher from Bexley dropped off a box of chalk and said, 2 high schools are sharing one kitchen, and they've got a steady line of soup if you bring your container and a spoon. A bus driver from the west side says the depot yard has gone quiet, and 1 row of diesels is hard to the touch, which means someone ran the tanks dry to keep the clinic powered, and no one cooled the engines after. If you're part of that crew, drain your oil, let the engines rest, and leave a note for the next hands on the line. A woman with a ham set in Delaware says she heard a net last night where someone used the phrase selective service recall, which just means the list of names grew teeth again. If you are of the age and you hear your name at a meeting, breathe. Ask where and when. Ask what job you'll be given, and keep your boots near your bed. If no one shows to read names, keep your boots near your bed anyway. Night is long when you do not know where your boots are. Lines are open. Name and city first, then what you need to say. Short and plain. I'll cut if the drum dips, or if a call turns into a fight. Go. Arthur, Lancaster. Down on Wheeling Street. We saw a line of people walking east just after 8. Not a crowd, just a single file, all with packs, all heads down. Someone yelled that the guard was setting up at the fairgrounds. Someone else said the fairgrounds were taken yesterday for storage. At the corner, an old man tried to wave the line to the church hall. No one looked up. It felt like the line had a wire through it, and it pulled them. Question. How do we make people stop and think when they've got that wire in their heads? Arthur, a line like that doesn't listen to words. It listens to obvious water and obvious heat. If your hall has hot liquid in visible containers on a table near the door, and a sign that says, "Warm drink, no questions," some feet will pause. If you've got a bucket of socks and a marker to write sizes on the wall, some hands will pause. People in wire mind skip the extra steps, put the help on their path, not around the corner, and take the old man's arm and have him sit while he waves, not stand. A wave from a chair says, "I'm not going to chase you," and that calms a body more than you'd think. Carmen, Hilliard, Community Center by Cemetery Road. We've got a nurse, 2 carpenters, 1 retired plumber, and a teen who can fix game consoles and has turned into our radio tech. We're boiling water on a grill and passing it down a row of 5-gallon buckets. Our question is medicine. We've got a tiny shelf of pills, and half the town wants them. A man came in and said his sister needs antibiotics for a tooth. Another woman said she needs them for a cough. We can't tell truth from panic. We wrote names and said we'll call, but people wanted them right then. How do we not turn into the bad guys? Carmen, you need a gatekeeper who has nothing to do with pills. A calm voice at the door who says, "We have one rule. If we give it to you, we write it down and we see you again tomorrow." Make the follow-up as important as the handoff. If someone won't agree to return, they don't get the strong stuff. And keep the most valuable meds in a second room with a door that locks, and only the nurse holds that key. As for tooth infections, salt water rinses every hour, clove oil on the gum if you've got it, and heat on the jaw. You save the antibiotics for fever that won't break, swelling that spreads, or red streaks moving up a limb. Anyone who coughs blood goes to the quiet room, and someone with a mask sits with them. No debate. Truth is, many will ask because asking is easier than hurting. You keep track, and you make tomorrow real by promising to check and then actually checking. Drew, Chillicothe. We managed to restart a little hydro on the river. It powers 3 blocks for a few hours if we take turns. Trouble is, last night somebody popped the panel and tried to jump 2 lines to get a constant feed to their store. It almost burned the lot. We caught him. He looked like a man who used to get what he wanted by talking fast. We've got to set a rule, and we've got to make it stick. What's fair? Drew, fair is this: a schedule on a wall, a person who reads it with a loud voice twice a day, and a consequence that's public and short. You don't lock him in a closet or break a hand. You say, 2 days cutting wood for the clinic and your name goes on the board. Do it, and your name comes off pain breeds more pain. Work fixes the panel and makes a lesson. Also, take a picture if you can and tape it next to the panel with the words, "This almost killed us." We are simple animals. We respond to pictures. Before the next call, here's what I heard from an engineer in a city I won't name because he asked me not to. He says there's a fight over how much truth to give the public about the upper air bursts that cooked the chips. Some want to say short-term issue and measure and adjust. Others want to admit that some gear is gone for good. He says the grid's bones aren't just injured, parts are missing. Transformers can't be printed like posters. They take months that we do not have. His words, teach people to love small power. So I'm saying it on his behalf. If your town can spin a microgrid from water, wind, or a diesel that the school used to hide behind the stadium, learn to live inside that circle and cheer for it instead of asking why the circle's small. Next call. Hazel, Athens. On the campus green. We took in 3 buses of people from further south 2 nights ago. A lot of college kids left and left their rooms full of stuff. The rooms are now for families. We've got people with pets and babies and some who don't talk at all. Food is okay for a few days. The problem is news. Half the rumors say a second wave is coming. Others say the worst is over. We've got anxious people who get angry if anyone speaks in doubt. We can't live like that. How do we manage the talk? Hazel, write the day and the hour on a board and hold a daily meeting that starts on time and ends on time. The person with the chalk decides who speaks, and the rule is simple. Say what you saw, where you saw it, and when. If someone says, "I heard," the chalk holder says, "Who said it to you and when?" If the person can't say, it goes on the rumor side of the board. Rumors get a corner, not the center. That way you don't ban talk, you corral it. Also, pick one person to collect names of the missing, with one question only. When and where were they last seen? Not, what do you fear? Only facts. The brain calms when the hand writes facts. I'm going to press a harder theory now because I keep getting half-truths from the edges of uniforms, and you deserve something solid even if it's not clean. A man who used to sit at a desk near a map told me that deterrence, the old balance, had already broken before day one. The quiet moves over the last years, the drills masked as storms, the tests that weren't tests, scraped the varnish off the table. When the first flash lit the wrong horizon, the rest of the pieces moved on their own tracks. He said not all of them landed. He said some were stopped, others failed, and some hit nothing but air. He said the word de-escalation by damage with a laugh that didn't have humor in it. He meant a punch hard enough to scare, but not to end the fight. That is the ugly phrase at the core, hurt enough to make a point, not enough to erase the speaker. If that's the game, then the silence you feel from above is a pause where men look at boards and wonder if the point was made. That pause is where we live now. No one will come on a national line and say it that way. I just did. If I'm wrong, you'll forget I said it. If I'm right, it changes nothing about how you heat your water or write your names. Calls continue. Keisha, Gahana. Apartment complex behind the strip with the shuttered nail salon. We hung baby clothes on lines between the balconies to dry, and someone cut them last night. We think it was a kid, but we don't know. It sounds small, but it felt like a punch. We're tired. My neighbor says to set a trap. I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want to sleep without checking the line every hour. Keisha, hang one line low with rags and hang another line high with the real clothes and a bell tied to a bit of string. Not a trap, a notice. The bell wakes a pair on watch, and the pair walks out slow and speaks the words, "We see you." Kids stop at being seen. If it's not a kid, the bell still gives you a breath to stand together. Also, ask the complex for 2 hours of all lights on tonight at 9 as a reset. Darkness taught a lesson. Light teaches another. Mike, Springfield. Old factory floor. We turned it into storage. We've got canned goods and bins of beans and rice. We've been fair with distribution. 2 days on, 1 day off. A man with a pistol at his hip came in the door this morning and said his people need more because they live further out and can't get in often. He used the word tax. My partner got stiff. I told the man to step back outside, and he did. I think he'll come back. How do we not make this the new rule? Mike, do not meet a pistol with a pistol unless you've decided that's the hill. Meet it with a witness and a ledger. Step outside with 2 people, one with a notebook and one with a loud voice. The voice says the rule. Slow. Every block gets the same on the same days. We can carry a load to your corner once a week if you're far. If you stand in our doorway with a gun again, your corner gets moved to the end of the route. It's not about muscle. It's about rhythm. Muscle loves chaos. Rhythm starves it. And rehearse the words before he comes back so your mouth doesn't shake. Here's a field note on water for those near streams. If you draw from moving water, Dip above a bend, not below. Let the silt settle in a bucket for an hour before you boil. If you've got coffee filters, use them. They're cheap and good at catching grit. A man from Worthington handed me a bag of 100 and walked away before I could thank him. I'm thanking him now. I counted the people who came to the courthouse steps at noon yesterday. 72 today. I will count again. If we cross 100 by the end of the week, I'll ask for 3 more chairs and a bigger pot. The chairs matter. A man with a bruised eye came yesterday and sat for 10 minutes without speaking. He stood and said, "I forgot it was okay to sit," and went back out into the thin light. That sentence sat in me all afternoon. If you're running a hall, put out chairs even if you have no food. The frequency list one more time for midday listeners. AM 540 for Franklin County and Friends, 7.110 megahertz lower sideband in the evening for our check-in net, 5,000 megahertz for top-of-the-hour time pips and a voice that sometimes breaks through with weather that doesn't match our sky. CB Channel 9 for emergencies, 19 for news of the road. If you're scanning and hear the word bridge closure with a route number, write it down and take it to the noon board. Bridges are where trouble hides. I've got a paper from a man who says he helped design a plant upriver. He thinks the next real push will be to keep a few reactors in cold standby from going from safe to sorry. He used simple words for me because he knows I like simple. He wrote, "Reactors are like hot kettles that don't stop being hot when you blow out the match. They need water to move the heat away. Pumps need power. Power is messy right now. If you live near one and you see a steady column of steam for days, that's okay. If you see nothing at all for a long time, that could mean trouble. If you see a rising plume and smell metal, call every number you have. I don't want to scare anyone. I want eyes on kettles. He says they're doing their best. Let them do it while we do ours. If I hear the words precautionary iodine on a reliable line, I'll say it plain. Until then, don't eat your salt pills like candy. 3 more calls. Ruth, Marion? Small farm outside town. We've got a well and a hand pump that squeals like a pig, but it works. We put a sign at the road. Water, bring your own container. A truck came yesterday, and men asked how much for the pump. I laughed and said she's old and ugly and not for sale. They didn't laugh. They said they'd be back. We don't have a lot of people here. Just me, my son, and my sister. I can't sleep. My dog's hair stands up at the gate. I don't want to leave the farm. My husband built it. How do we make this safe without turning mean? Ruth, put the sign down for 3 days and move the giving inside the gate. People who are real will still come when they see you out there at noon with a list and a smile. Those men were shopping for fear, and they found it. Don't let them. Stack wood in sight of the road. Make your place look like it works hard at what it does. Working places get more respect than open places. And see if any of your neighbors can rotate a night in your spare room for the next week. 2 more bodies changes a night. Sam, Upper Arlington. We're doing a radio class at the library steps, 4 o'clock, kids and adults. We teach how to listen and how to speak plain. We wrote a guide that says, don't say, situation. Say, we need blankets on Westmont Drive. Don't say urgent. Say, we need this by 2. It's fun. People laughed for the first time in days. I just wanted to say that. Also, a boy named Theo found a way to charge a handheld with a bike on a stand. He wants people to bring dead radios and take a turn pedaling. Might be good for other blocks to try. Sam, that's worth 10 drums of diesel. A bike that makes a voice is a better story than a rumor any day. If you're listening and you have a dead handheld, bring it and try your legs. And steal Sam's language rules. Words like situation are sugar that rot the tooth. Name the street. Name the hour. Name the thing. Isaac, Grove City. I work nights at a place I won't name that used to make parts. We turned the floor into a cots and gear station for supply runs. Last night we got a paper that said, "Martial law in effect. Do not move after dark." It had a seal. It looked real. Then 2 hours later, we heard a voice on a channel that said, "There is no general order here, only local curfews. We don't know which to obey. If we stay put, we miss runs that keep people fed. If we move, we might get stopped by someone who believes the paper. I'm not asking you to bless me. I'm asking how to carry the risk. Isaac, you carry it by writing your own pass and making it public. If you serve 5 blocks, print a sheet with your route, the names of the blocks, your truck's plate, and your expected times. Post it at each block at noon and make the times real the next night. If a trooper stops you, you show him a route with cold times and warm names. Most men with a badge will read a schedule that other people can point to. If the paper with the seal shows up again, pin it next to your route with a note that says, "We move for food from 8 to 10. We will show this route at the station at 6. Invite the badge to hold you to it. That builds a bridge between 2 rules. I'm going to say a selfish thing now. For the last 14 days, I have kept my voice even, or tried to. When I lay down at noon yesterday under the courthouse steps and closed my eyes, I saw the bus under the stuck red light again, and I felt a wave of anger roll through me like a bad fever, not at whoever pressed a button, at the way the world can be cut by people who will not hear the sound of their own cut. I let it rise and fall, and then I opened my eyes and counted the bricks in the step above me, because counting is honest work when thinking is not. If you feel that wave, don't turn it on the man next to you who breathes too loud. Count something. Wash something. Write a name. Rage is a fire you can cook with for a minute, but it eats the pan. Update from Dayton. A small sign on a lamppost near 5th reads, "Doctor here at 2." And a line has started forming every day starting at 1. 2 men stand with a list. They don't ask what's wrong until it's your turn. A small thing, but the order calms people before the doctor ever lifts a hand. If you've got a nurse or a medic and they're getting crushed, learn from Dayton. Lists over lines. Update from the highway ring. A man I trust who does tow work says there's a chain of cars on 270 near the west side that were left in place when the first day got loud. He says some have fuel. He says some have blankets. He says a group started stripping them last night and someone got cut with a broken mirror. If you scavenge, do it in daylight with a flag for your group and a rule that you leave one thing behind in each car you touch. Emptying a car invites a fight. Leaving something says a human passed here, not a swarm. A note to the scattered. If you are alone in a house and the silence turns your head into a bad room, pick 2 times to be outside on purpose. Noon and sunset. Go to the corner at noon and stand where people stand. Go to the corner at sunset and say your name out loud to someone. Even if you say it to a man you don't know, say it. Your name is a little key that keeps your inside from locking. If you're afraid to speak, write it on paper and show it. Then go back inside and do your small job. We keep score with names now. We'll go another 15 minutes before I throttle back to save the drum. If I go silent, it will be for maintenance, not because I gave up. I don't know how to say this in a tidy way, so I'll just say it. We're not going back to the week before day 1. We will move forward to something that is ours, not theirs. and the shape of it is being poured right now by people hanging baby clothes with bells, by boys who can make a bike sing into a radio, by a woman who writes quiet hours on a door and then keeps her own voice low at 10. That's the truth that can sit next to the other truth, the one with the hard edges and the maps with bright rings where names used to be. 2 more calls. Liam, Newark. Rail yard worker. We got permission from nobody to open 3 boxcars with food that was going to a store chain. We took it to 2 churches and a school. A man with a clipboard came and said it was theft. I said it was time. He said there are rules. I said there are bellies. I don't want a war with clipboards. I want to do this right. What does right mean now? Liam, right means you wrote down car numbers, you logged what went where, and you posted it in 3 spots, so anyone who wants to argue can point to the paper, not your head. Take the man with the clipboard to the board and make him write his name next to a slot that says Tuesday Beans, and tell him he's now in charge of getting beans to the school on Tuesday. Move people from saying no to carrying yes. Clipboards want a pen. Give them one with a job. Abigail, Westside Columbus. We have an old care home with 12 residents and 3 staff left. The generator coughs, the meds are thin. We've done all the small tricks, warm blankets, sips of water, songs. Some of our people are near the end, and we can't get a chaplain. I don't know why I called. Maybe I wanted to say their names into a place where someone will hear them. Mr. Klein, Ms. Ortiz, Joni, Jean, Ruthie, Michael, Ms. Dean, Harold, Lacey, Mr. Benson, Dot, and my mother May. If anyone hears this and knows them, think of them at noon. If anyone knows how to get a generator belt for a Model 18B, call the center on Westport. I am tired and I am not going to quit. That's all. Abigail, the whole room here is quiet in a way it hasn't been. If anyone has a Model 18B belt in a drawer with old parts, take it to Westport. If you don't, take a chair. Don't go to stare. Go to sit and make the room wider for a few minutes. And everyone who wrote a list at noon, add those names to the bottom and leave a space next to each. If you see someone who knew them, put a mark. We're a nation of marks on a page now. That's not a downgrade. That's memory made on purpose. Time is 10:28 a.m. I'll run 2 more minutes and then pull the power back to half and check the belt again. Before I cut, the midday kit, water, socks, a list, a whistle, and a warm drink to put on a table where people walk. If you have a car that runs, park it nose out with a hand crank radio in the back for whoever needs a 10-minute sit with a voice. If you run a haul, put up a sheet that says today and write 5 simple things you know for sure. The brain likes 5. If you do nothing else, put out 3 chairs in a row. People will fill them. People filling chairs is the beginning of a town that remembers what a town is. This is Elliot Kane, AM 540 and 7.110 megahertz after dark. I'll be back at 1 p.m. if the drum holds and the belt keeps its teeth. Bring me names. Bring me streets. Bring me times. Bring me the simplest truth, the kind that fits on a door in black letters. And if you can't bring anything, bring yourself to the corner at noon and let someone see you. That counts. It always counts.